In this video, we'll give you 10 sneaky starts for Week 12 of the fantasy football season. I'm Jim Coventry, joined by Anthony Cervino, and we are with RotoWire. All right, quarterback Drake Maye of the New England Patriots will be playing at the Dolphins. It's a divisional game, and I know these get wonky. You never know what's going to go on. But if a typical game script plays out, Miami's at home, the New England defense does not do well against the run, so the Dolphins should get a lead. If that happens, Drake Maye has to play in the hurry-up offense, and he's done well when he's been in that situation. He has at least one touchdown pass in 5 of 6, but in 3 of those 6 games, he has multiple touchdowns, so he's capable of that. He's run for at least 24 yards in all 6 of his starts, and he can run for big yards when he needs to, bigger at least. And look, he has at least 23 fantasy points in 4 of 6 games. So not only does he have a high floor, but if he has to chase points, we could see a ceiling game here. Anthony, who do you like at quarterback?
At quarterback, I like Matthew Stafford, and the matchup for Stafford is tough on paper against Philly. This is an ascending defense. It's getting better week by week. But we have now seen Stafford go off in 3 of his past 4 games now that he has his wide receiver group healthy. And on paper, New England, that was a tough matchup at New England, and he has his best game of the year, 295 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, no mistakes. I think Stafford, with his core of pass catchers healthy, you of course have Quentin Williams, who's been a little bit quiet. I think Matthew Stafford this week in a projected shootout with Philly could be one of the better starters of the week.
At running back, I like Cam Akers of the Minnesota Vikings at the Chicago Bears. Now remember, 6 teams on bye this week, so we're going to be desperate for some running back help. Akers has 8 or more touches in 3 straight games. He's had at least 36 and 53 scrimmage yards, 1 touchdown over that span, but he's still putting up some yardage. And he's also caught 5 passes in 3 games. So in PPR, he gives you a little something as well. Look, Aaron Jones doesn't appear to be 100%. He's battling through injuries he's had, and he should continue to get carries. The Bears, great against the pass, not so good against the run. So in this case, we could see both running backs do well. And if the Vikings somehow get a lead, let's say they get a bigger lead late, we could see Aaron Jones get a little more rest and Akers get more work. So Akers has a good high floor, but he might have more ceiling than we think. Anthony, who's your running back?
Yeah, I'm going with Javonte Williams. And Javonte Williams is very hard to trust because we know what happened against the Kansas City Chiefs. He played a season-low snaps. He had a season-low touches and production, and Odunze led the pack. But last week, when people expected Estime, it was Javonte Williams putting up over 18 PPR points, had 13 touches, over 70 yards, and scores a touchdown. I think it's time to trust Javonte Williams. It's hard to trust Sean Payton, but Javonte is the best running back in this room. The matchup against the Raiders is outstanding. They've been gashed by running backs all season long, and deceptively, the Raiders have a pretty good defense defending the pass. So I see a big game for not only Javonte Williams, but also Bo Nix with his legs. With so many teams on a bye, I know it's hard to throw Javonte in there, but if you have a situation where you have Javonte and Odunze, I'm leaning Javonte Williams.
Yeah, no doubt there. If you enjoy videos like this, please consider hitting the like button and subscribe to the RotoWire Fantasy Football channel on YouTube. Also, you can check out all of our fantasy football content and rankings and all other sports as well. And you get a free 2-day trial. You don't even need a credit card. Just go to rotowire.com/Jim. You can check out all we have to offer. If you like it, join the team. If not, we're just happy you stopped by and checked this out. Going to wide receiver, my sneaky start is Alec Pierce of the Indianapolis Colts against the Detroit Lions. Now, think back in the beginning of the season, weeks 1 to 3. Anthony Richardson was the quarterback. Alec Pierce had at least 44 yards in each of those games. He scored twice, and then things got bad. Richardson kind of fell off the cliff. Well, Richardson got benched, and last week he comes back. Pierce gets 74 yards again. Now, we see Pierce getting at least 4 targets in 5 of the 6 games he played with Richardson. He plays a full-time role for the most part, skips a few snaps. Here's the thing with the Lions. The Lions try to bring a lot of pressure, but they play man coverage. They usually don't have a safety over the top. That works well for a downfield receiver like Alec Pierce in a game the Colts are probably trailing. The Indy line is beat up a little. Their offensive line beat up a little bit, but Richardson could buy time, and he could launch downfield. So look, there's always a floor with Alec Pierce. This could be a great week to start him. Anthony, who's your wide receiver?
Yeah, I'm going with Quentin Johnston, and there's a lot of volatility involved with Quentin Johnston. We're not always dependent on volume with Quentin Johnston, but in his past 3 games, double-digit PPR points. And oddly enough, he did get 8 targets last week, but only caught 2 for 48 and a touchdown, which is kind of normal stat line. This week, he gets the Ravens, and on paper, this is the easiest matchup for wide receivers. And although the Chargers' defense is really good, we saw them have some trouble with the Cincinnati Bengals, which means I think they're also going to have some trouble defending Lamar Jackson and company. This could be a sneaky shootout. And I think Quentin Johnston is going to have to be involved and find his way to score another touchdown if the Chargers are going to be able to keep up with Baltimore.
At tight end, I'm looking at Jatavian Sanders of the Carolina Panthers playing the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, remember, the bye was last week for Sanders, but Sanders had 5 to 7 targets in 4 of his last 6 games. In 3 of those games, at least 49 yards. The Chiefs should get out to a big lead here. And the Chiefs, we've seen it. They give opponents the middle of the field. They do not mind that at all. And as a result, the Chiefs are allowing among the most fantasy points to tight ends in the entire league. So that said, in a game they trail, Sanders should catch at least 4 passes here. If you get lucky and get a touchdown, that's great. But Sanders should have a decent PPR floor in this one. Anthony, who's your tight end?
At tight end, I'm going with Theo Johnson of the Giants coming off the bye. We know they're making a quarterback change, and we know the young quarterback, they like to lean on the tight end, and Theo Johnson has been involved since week 8, 3 straight games, at least 4 targets, including back-to-back games with 6 targets going into the bye. In that time period, he's catching passes. He's found the end zone, and I think making this change to Tommy DeVito, getting a nice matchup, a soft matchup against Tampa Bay, we could see another quality outing from Theo Johnson. Again, we keep saying it. A lot of teams on the bye. You might be in a bind at tight end. Theo Johnson is a really sneaky play.
My wild card pick is Nick Westbrook-Ikhine of the Tennessee Titans playing at the Houston Texans. Now, last week, I get it. He had that 98-yard touchdown. It was a play where Minnesota sent a jailbreak blitz with no coverage. That play's not going to happen. But I don't know if many people are realizing that Westbrook-Ikhine scored 5 touchdowns in his last 6 games. He's playing almost every snap since DeAndre Hopkins has been traded. He averages 4.5 targets in that span. The Texans, Will Anderson, their best pass rusher, has missed multiple games with an ankle injury. Don't know if he's playing, but if he does, probably not 100%. Their best corner, Derek Stingley, probably spends a lot of time on Calvin Ridley. Look, Westbrook-Ikhine's on the field. He's probably getting targets. It's a sneaky start. Anthony, who's your wild card?
My wild card's Rome Odunze. Rome Odunze coming off a 10-target outing where he caught 6 for 65, 12.5 PPR points, his second double-digit PPR point game in the past 3 weeks. With the OC change, it does look like Odunze could be more involved moving forward. And this week, you get the Minnesota Vikings. I think Chicago's going to have to throw the football and exploit this secondary, which is beatable because they're going to have a hard time running the football. If you need a sneaky start, Rome Odunze could build a nice little stretch of outings here where he's been reliable in fantasy.